Welcome back to Champion News Talk Radio, brought to you by championnews.net. Today our guest, Don Castella, before we went to the break, was talking a little bit about monetary policy and our crisis here. So Don, continue with that, please.
Yeah, and it's germane to a discussion of our state because our state finances are obviously denominated in dollars. And I believe part of their thinking is that these dollars, as inflation rears its ugly head, will become worth very much less. You know, people complain about rising prices. What we're really seeing is a falling dollar. That's why commodity prices have skyrocketed at times recently. And there's a good example of that I like to use. A $20 gold piece in 1900 was $20. But a man could go to a tailor and he could buy a fine custom suit with that $20 gold piece. Well, in 2012, a $20 gold piece is currently worth about $1,800. And that $1,800 would buy a fine custom suit today as well. But look at the dollar. I mean, a $20 bill that would buy a suit in 1900 won't even buy you a decent tie today. So you see what has happened.
I have bought silver, in industrial silver, many years ago in the 1950s when I needed silver for making electronic stuff. I've bought silver for as little as 80 cents an ounce.
Is that scrap silver?
No,
scrap
it's
industrial silver?
Industrial good silver in bars
For
or put into strip for running through punch presses and such for less than $1 an ounce. And it's now $33 an ounce. That means, the dollar has shrunk because our federal government has been spending way too much money.
Printing presses.
And right now, commodities and silver and gold and copper, everything else has gone sky high in price because the dollar, as Donna said, is becoming more and more worthless. It's all going to catch up with us. You can't act like Greece and get away with it.
That's right.
Illinois
Those are federal
Greece.
policies, but those federal policies certainly will have an impact on the state, not the least of which is our Medicaid system in Illinois that will be materially affected by the Obamacare so-called health care reforms.
I'd like to point out that Madigan passed a $3.7 billion, that's 9 zeros. He passed a $3.7 billion bond issue in order to pay off the outrageous pensions that never should be paid because you got all kinds of dunces in the bad management end of the education system getting pensions of $200,000, $250,000, even $300,000 a year that they should not have. Those things have been jobbed by the legislature. It's a rotten scheme that those false leaders that have given us such a rotten system for our teachers to labor in. You can't blame the teachers. It's the management of the rotten system run by the IEA that's already bankrupted the state.
Yeah,
and his Madigan
that they
goes and pays
possibly
those pensions, and the people that lay in the beds and so forth that are powerless, their bills aren't being paid. Mr. Madigan is paying the outrageous pensions of the rascals in the teachers union that are putting him in power. Nice thing, isn't it?
Now, Jack,
nice work if you can get it.
You wanted to talk a little bit about the state of the federal with this President Obama coming up for re-election, God forbid, in 2012. What did you want to say about that?
Oh, yeah, sure. This whole thing with Obama is disgusting, and the attempts to find somebody to run against him are being dispersed through many different contenders. You can pick these fellas one or another. They've each got some good features in them, and you know who they are. You see them on TV every night. There's half a dozen of them.
Any one of them is better than Barack Obama. I don't care.
Any one of them.
Any one of them.
Any one of them is far better.
My shoe.
That guy should be known as the Great Wrecker. But probably the best thing that could happen is that none of these guys really got elected until they get to the Republican convention. What we need is a convention like one of your, where they had to compete until they got somebody that had a real majority. And frankly, you know, it'd be hard to find a better guy than Governor Perry of Texas.
Well,
and if these fellas can't agree on it, if it gets down to the Republican convention, you got to have somebody that's tough. And if you were selecting somebody who's really well qualified, it'd be a guy that spent 5 years in the Army as an aviator and is governor of the biggest, well, the second biggest state, but certainly the biggest economy, that doesn't have an income tax, that has really good schools that are running. He's running a great school, and he's a tough Texan. He'd be the best of the lot, I think.
well, but
we got to get somebody
he's
tough.
behind Newt Gingrich. Perry's behind Newt Gingrich, and Herman Cain stepped down and is behind Newt Gingrich. A couple weeks ago, Santorum had a hat trick. What that tells me, Jack, Americans want a more conservative, bold, bright, Ronald Reagan-esque type of leadership.
Yeah.
Barack Obama has failed leadership. You have an eagle here. Eagle is a sign of a leader, and our leader is a failed leader, Barack Obama.
This eagle lives 100 yards from my office at Auto Engineering.
I think what we're seeing in the Republican primaries is the anybody but Romney phenomena repeating itself over and over again.
He's seen as weak, and big troubles need men with real solid remedies.
Solutions and remedies like Don Castella. And you know what? If Romney's the nominee, I'm voting for him. And I'm sure the majority of Americans
any Republican, Mickey Mouse would be a better Republican than this twit that's misleading this country.